Good morning. It's Saturday morning. It's weigh-in day. Yeah, weigh-in day. Oh man. So it was a pretty good week. I can't think of any moments where I didn't like what I chose or what I did. So, and most of the time I could say that because I do the same thing I did last week, right? So if I have a problem with something I did, unless it's something outside the norm, this is why that rarely happens. Because if every Monday is the same, every Tuesday is the same, the likelihood that I will do something that makes me think, oh, I wish I didn't do that, is far less, few and far between. But that doesn't mean it can't happen, right? You always got to have your guard up for old behavior. You always got to make sure the old behavior is kept at bay, because the reason we all have this problem with food, this bad relationship with food, where there's no balance, is because we use food in a way that it shouldn't be used. We use food for pleasure, for comfort, for distraction. Whatever it is, we use food for that. And this is so normalized by society that many of you, with me just calling it out, would say, yeah, who doesn't, right? But just because it's normalized by society doesn't make it really normal. It just means you're believing a lie. It is not normal to regularly seek out food in a way that's other than to fuel your body. And it's just that simple. And this is the reason why we have to always be on guard for the old behaviors returning, because there's always a possibility. And as long as you're aware and you never stop doing the things that got you the success you had, you never have to worry about, right? But then when we dabble into, the things we don't want to do, or the things we can get away with not doing, kind of a thing, it could definitely put us in a position otherwise. But I do feel like it was a good week. And so what does that mean? That means if it was a good week, I step on the scale and it's a good result, right? If you've been watching my videos for any amount of time, you know that that's not the truth, right? You know that that's laughable to think that just because I worked hard for 7 days means I should get what I want. That's not how it goes. We know that. You work hard because that's your job. It's not because you're getting a result. It's because it's your job. And it's your job because at some point we had a bad relationship with food that we need to fix. That's why all of this is our job. And until that bad relationship is fixed, none of this is fixed. And that's what I talk about when I say this is a quest to become the greatest version of yourself. It's not living with your behaviors, it's transforming them. And when you transform and go through the pain, aggravation, sadness, all of it that you'll go through, depending on whatever the scenario is, you'll have to go through all of those things in order to become the greatest version of yourself. So in reality, I always say that if doing this isn't making you uncomfortable, that usually means you can do more. And you're either not challenging yourself, or you're just not paying attention to what you're not doing, right? Some people don't realize that they're so easily choose to not do something that it completely slips their mind that they don't do it, right? They actually can convince themselves they're doing everything they need to do when they skip fundamental behaviors that bring success in this journey. And I am a fundamentals guy. If you aren't doing the fundamentals on a daily basis, then you're opening the door for the possibility of something to go wrong. you're also closing the door of ever becoming the greatest version of yourself, because there's always more to achieve. There's always more to conquer. There's always more to basically strengthen. And recognizing that is part of the process, right? Because the greatest version of you doesn't have the hang-ups anymore that created the problem you're dealing with. The greatest version of you lives balanced and doesn't need comfort through things that don't provide actually comfort. Doesn't need distraction from things that don't actually provide distraction. Doesn't need joy from things that don't actually provide joy. The greatest version of you just lives life, and everything else is creating the fulfillment. And I guess that's kind of where I find myself, even though I'm on the doorstep of the big goal that I set almost 7 years ago. I find myself almost feeling like I have to add more to this, and not just physically, I'm not talking about, adding something else, another kind of exercise or something like that. That would be more of the physical and mental nature that is already been worked on for the last 7 years. But the more is the need for spiritual enlightenment or spiritual growth. And that's where I kind of find myself, is that need, that draw, because this is all, becoming the greatest version of yourself is a journey of the mind, the body, and the spirit, right? And I've been working on the mind and the body for 7 years. I haven't really been working on the spirit. And I think it's about time I do. So that's kind of like the feeling I have at the moment, where there needs to be spiritual growth to meet the mental and physical growth in the process, right? I guess you would call that like the trinity of becoming the greatest version of you. It is mental, spiritual, physical growth. And if any of them is not growing, then it becomes like, well, what do I do to make it grow? Right? And that's the same thing. Like I told you guys that changing things for yourself and then living up to what you say, that doesn't just work physically, right? So yes, that's what you're working on, the physical nature of this, but it also works on the mental nature simultaneously. Because every time you do what you say you're going to do and find success, the mental growth will come naturally, just part of it. This is why when people say, I'm going to work on my mindset, working on your mindset will never work. Reading books will only just tell you what the person did to work on their mindset. But in reality, you're just reading about somebody else's accomplishments, right? But the idea is, the minute you start to live what you say, that brings the mental growth. And maybe that's why I'm here, is because I live what I say in regards to the physical growth, but I need to live what I say in regards to spiritual growth too. Or maybe that's the point I find myself that's, presenting me. At least that's what I feel like I'm drawn to lately. And it all kind of has to come together at some point. Not sure why I said all of that, but it's been on my mind. The third part of this journey being the spiritual part, it's been on my mind. Anyway, it's Saturday. Whatever you're doing today, enjoy yourself. I love each and every one of you. God bless you all.